Hi, this is Dale, the host of the Puppy Talk podcast. Before we get started today, I wanted to let you know of 3 books that I have available for sale on Amazon. They are The Complete Puppy Training Manual, Potty Training Your Puppy, and Leash Training Your Puppy. All 3 of these books are available on Kindle ebook, paperback, and audiobook. I'll put a link in the show notes to all of my books. Be sure to check them out if you want more puppy training tips beyond Puppy Talk Podcast. I'm Dale Buchanan, and this is Puppy Talk, the podcast that offers free advice and tips for raising a happy, healthy, and obedient puppy. For more information on this podcast, visit us online at puppytalkpodcast.com. Welcome to Puppy Talk episode number 115. Today I'm going to talk about how to prevent fear, anxiety, and stress in your puppy. I've had a lot of puppies recently who have had fear, anxiety, and stress right from the get-go, right at 8, or 10, or 12 weeks old. And I've also worked with a lot of adult dogs recently, ages 2 to 6 years old, with severe fear, anxiety, and stress, and also have shown some aggression, but haven't actually bitten anybody. These are problems, and they could have been prevented early on. I'm going to give you a lot of tips of how to prevent it. But first, let's talk about what fear, anxiety, and stress is, and we call this FAS. Fear is the response to a real or perceived threat. Anxiety is the anticipation of a threat that isn't present. And stress is the psychological or emotional strain caused by either. Signs of FAS in puppies include tucked tail, cowering, growling, avoidance, whining, and excessive barking. FAS is mistaken for bad behavior because a lot of times when a puppy is in the fear, anxiety, and stress state of mind, they're not going to listen to commands. They're not going to take treats. And they're not going to see hand signals because they're in their fight or flight mode. Oftentimes, owners will call me to fix this dog's behavior of not listening and not behaving well, when in reality, they have fear, anxiety, and stress, or even just one of those, and the puppy needs that worked on first before they will actually engage, listen, and do a behavior command such as down or stay. This is also related to lack of confidence, and we're going to talk about that in this episode. How to prevent fear, anxiety, and stress in puppies. 1. Early positive exposure. This means safe, gradual exposure to new people, animals, sounds, and environments. This is what we call socialization. Socialization is so important, and my clients and I start their puppies as early as possible, as soon as they've had at least their second round of vaccines, and definitely after they've had all of their vaccines. This is going to be anywhere from 12 to 16 weeks. We get the puppy out to Home Depot, Lowe's, Tractor Supply, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Dick's Sporting Goods. These are just a few of the places where you can bring your puppy to help socialize them. And I'm not talking about putting them in a shopping cart, or as they say here in the South, a buggy. You want to make sure that you're walking them on a leash with a harness or a collar on them so that they learn to see the world from where they live, which is walking next to you in public, not being held and not being put in a shopping cart or a buggy and not being coddled and babied in that way. The only way to build confidence in your puppy is to teach them the loose leash walking technique that I recommend from my book, Leash Training Your Puppy, and to build confidence by being a good leader. 2, create a secure environment. This means putting your puppy on a predictable routine, putting them on a routine where they know exactly what's going to happen next so they don't have to stress out and worry about it and overthink. Because this overthinking in a puppy, just like humans, is what creates a lot of the fear, anxiety, and stress. When they get up in the morning, they go potty, and then they eat their food, and then you do a little training with them, and they go back out again to go potty, and then they come in to do a little bit of play, and then they take a nap. You just repeat this routine throughout the day, and you've got a successful routine to raise a happy, healthy, and obedient puppy. You want to be a calm, confident leader. You don't want to be yelling at them. You don't want to be scolding them all the time or nagging them all the time, because that's not going to help the puppy relax and build confidence. You also need to teach independence, which means crate training and leaving them in a room without you periodically so that they don't get separation anxiety. They need to realize that the world will still revolve when you leave the room or when you leave the house. This is very important for preventing separation anxiety. Number 3, reading body language. You want to make sure that your puppy's tail is not tucked under all the time, because that's a sign of fear. Watch their mouth, their ears, their eyes, and see if there's any stress in that area of the body. If the puppy starts to snarl or growl a lot or bark a lot, these are signs of stress, anxiety, and fear. You don't want to ignore those signals. Number 4, build confidence in your puppy. The other day, I was working with a 12-week-old golden retriever puppy. It was our first lesson. The puppy goes from the back deck downstairs into the backyard to go potty. And the owner was picking the puppy up and bringing it down there and setting it in the grass. It would walk up the stairs, but the puppy didn't know how to walk down the stairs. So I showed him through building confidence in the puppy that he doesn't have to pick the puppy up. Let's teach the puppy to walk downstairs to help build their confidence. This will help the puppy reduce stress, anxiety, and fear. So I took the leash, I walked down a couple of steps, and I pulled gently. The puppy's front paw went on the step below, and then the other paw went down on the step below, and then I pulled just a little bit more, and the puppy just started running down the stairs. We went back up the stairs, we went back down the stairs. We did this about 6 or 7 times, and the owner was flabbergasted because he thought his puppy was not going to be able to walk down the stairs this early due to its size and its age. But when I got Dixie, I got her walking up and down stairs at 10 weeks old, 4.8 pounds, the very first day I had her, because I lived on the 5th floor and I knew that the elevator could break at any time. And if I needed to take her potty, I have to walk down 5 flights of stairs. So she was learning to walk downstairs immediately, no matter what. And Dixie is by far the most confident dog you've ever seen. This dog is very secure and very confident because I started early on with her. The next way to build confidence in your puppy is use reward-based, calm training methods. This means no force, no harsh corrections, and rewarding them when they do something well. Set the communication channels very clear with your puppy. This is what they're going to get rewarded for. This is what they're not going to get rewarded for. And one of the things I see owners do to destroy the confidence in a puppy is correct them all the time. No, stop. No, Dixie, stop. Dixie, leave it. Dixie, what are you doing? That type of thing in a 8, 10, 12, 14-week-old puppy is going to lower their confidence, and they're always going to be walking on eggshells. This is not what you want. Number 5, avoid common mistakes that cause FAS. This includes yelling or physical punishment. You never want to hit your dog. You never want to yell harshly at your puppy because they don't know any better. They've only learned what you've taught them. They've never been to school. They know nothing. There's no reason to get frustrated and upset at a puppy that hasn't learned anything yet. Forcing social interactions is also not a good idea. My dog Dixie is not great with children. She's a little bit scared of them because years ago, a child came up to her really high energy, very loud on a skateboard, and she thinks all children are evil. I can pick her up and a child can pet her. She's fine with that. But if a 3 or 5-year-old child comes running at her, like what happened the other day when we were doing a social outing at a strip mall locally here in Huntsville. She went the other direction, and this kid was screaming at her some Latin language. I don't even know what it was. And he was saying all these words and screaming, and Dixie got scared. This is a situation where I'm not going to force that on her because the kid needed to go away and she needed to just decompress and calm down, which she did. The next thing you don't want to do is ignore signs of stress, thinking that he'll get over it or she'll get over it. What you need to do is what I teach in my programs is desensitizing your puppy to stimuli that causes them fear, anxiety, or stress. This may be the vacuum cleaner or the big trash can that you pull out front of your house once a week on the big wheels that the trash guy is going to pick up, or taking them to Home Depot and desensitizing them to a forklift and a pallet jack and the circular saw when they're cutting wood for somebody, the shopping carts. All of these things are things that puppy needs to be desensitized to over time. And you're going to find a lot of things that kind of freak out your puppy a little bit at the beginning. And then you have to desensitize them gently, one at a time. This is very important. Unfortunately, sometimes the fear, anxiety, and stress is so bad in an adult dog, especially dogs that have been rescued from the shelter, that it is irreversible. This is a big problem, especially if the dog is over 3 years old. They've learned to adapt to this fear, anxiety, and stress lifestyle and to growl and snarl at things and push them away because they're scared. And they've rehearsed that behavior over and over and over again. Once the dog gets to a certain age, it's very hard to reverse. I had a golden doodle that was 6 years old recently, who I went through this with. It was a great dog, but it had snapped at people in the house several times and me twice. When we took it out in public, I realized instantly that this dog was suffering from severe fear, anxiety, and stress. Even when the dog was on medication such as trazodone to help reduce the anxiety, it didn't really work. Also, the dog did not enjoy riding in the car. It never did anything but stand up and pant a lot and drool and look out the window in anticipation that something bad's going to happen. This dog was clearly under-socialized from an early age, and the owner admitted to that, which is why they hired me. They did not want something bad to happen with this dog. For example, they bite somebody. This was what they wanted to prevent. We ended the training. The dog did better with pretty much everything except for that FAS in public. And I educated the owner on what to do to prevent dog bites when people come into the house. You've got to relax the dog and keep them stress-free as people enter and not allow them to get so excited and overstimulated. This seemed to work pretty well for them, so they were very happy with the outcome. But like I said, some of this fear, anxiety, and stress was due to lack of early socialization. And when I say early socialization, the critical period is 4 to 12 weeks old. Some experts say 4 to 16 weeks old. You've got to get your puppy exposed to certain stimuli to help socialize them early on, or this is going to be a very bad outcome later in life. In review, to prevent fear, anxiety, and stress in your puppy, it's best to have them on a structured routine, start obedience training as early as you can, start socializing them as early as possible, and build their confidence through calm, confident leadership and not a lot of corrections and no yelling and no physical abuse to the puppy. That will destroy them for life. If you have any questions about this episode, you can reach me through my website, puppytalkpodcast.com. Thank you and have a great day.